Greetings, my fellow gentlemen.
And hello to my little chaos nibblings.
What's up, players? And today we're going to look into the season finale of... Hey, Road, excuse me. Hello, can I help you? Yeah, you cannot walk across my screen and interrupt our monologue. Oh, so that's what you were doing. I thought you were just staff.
Staff? Do we look like hotel staff to you? Who do you think you are?
Oh, where are my manners? You see, I'm God. Oh, wait, hold on. I'm God.
So, we all agree that we're gonna get absolutely speedrunning cancellation, aren't we?
Yep, this is probably gonna be our last gentleman's chat because of this one.
So let's speedrun it and offend as many people as possible. This is Hazbin Hotel, Season 2, Episode 8, and the season finale. The episode begins at the Hazbin Hotel, where the gang is going over the plan of what they're going to do when they get to Vox's party. Charlie and Vaggie are going to distract Vox, while everybody else uses Baxter's backstage to get inside. Then they split up into two teams. The objectives is to rescue Angel Dust, as well as hack into the system so they can broadcast a signal from heaven to showcase that Serpentius is in heaven, and that fighting is not the answer, and that they can all be friends and sing Kumbaya.
Also, they're going to destroy the massive weapon.
Fun fact, Gent actually took over animating this part of the episode.
Bite me. Well, you know what they say. No plan is 100%. Unlike those fire outfits. I mean, I didn't realize Hell had so many good fashion designers.
But unfortunately, having a fire outfit isn't going to be enough to out-Vox, as he has all the overlords on his side. Although they don't appear to be on his side, more than they tolerate his existence, because he's the face of the revolution against heaven. And nothing says overwhelming victory over heaven more so than having Charlie Morningstar there as his endorsement.
I'm sorry, what was that about, overthrowing heaven? Don't tell me it's already time for that, nasty little bloodbath that heaven and hell are going to have to go through. You mean Judgment Day? No, the family reunion, but I suppose it's the same thing.
Well, Vox wastes no time with actively trying to show up Charlie and Vaggie. But Charlie has no time for that, as she sees Alistar sitting in the cuck chair.
What's this about a cuck chair?
Oh, it's the ultimate punishment. And Charlie tries to save him. But Vox makes it clear, no, that's not happening. You are going to be sitting next to Valentino.
And Valentino is actively disgusted by this act and storms off, leaving Vox and Charlie to their lonesome.
And this is where they do some bonding over all of the failures that Charlie took this entire season, and allowing Vox to step further and further until he's at this point here and now. And while they're going down memory lane, Vaggie goes up to Carmilla, saying, "We need your help," and she's like, "Fuck off, I want nothing to do with whatever you're scheming." So I suppose no last-minute rescues here.
This one is us when you fail to show any evidence that your hotel works. It's one of my favorites. You look so stupid.
Okay, so realistically, Vox should not have gotten as far. I think I've made that clear. Charlie is the reason, and Lucifer is also the reason. And quite frankly, everybody has just been letting Vox do all this stuff. Like, he never should have gotten this far. But I think this moment where he's literally pulling the receipts and throwing everything that Charlie has done this season back in her face, and is the reason why they're in this position to begin with. This needs to be a learning moment for Charlie. This needs to be the moment she has her character progression. This moment, right here. We then cut to Emily, who is currently acting as team coordinator as she's guiding everybody's actions. Baxter lets them all into the building, and Emily informs Serpentius the fish are in the bowl. Baxter takes out all the security cameras, so they should be able to move freely, but unfortunately, he doesn't take down the important security camera.
But enough about that. Husk actually manages to find Angel Dust, who is positively wrecked, while Baxter and Nifty are off sabotaging the computers and trying to use it to make the connection. Meanwhile, during all of this, Vox is continuously humiliating Charlie, but then gets a text alert saying, "Hey, your system's been compromised!" And Charlie rubs it in his face a little bit too soon. Vox immediately tries to handle the situation with one of his electric shock doodad power thingies, but
I don't think so.
you know, one would think that Vox would have a Wi-Fi signal that would connect him to all Vox technology.
Oh yeah, that's something new I put down there. You see, I noticed that people were getting around with the Wi-Fi a lot, so as one of the punishments, I made the Wi-Fi router go flick in only about 2 bars. Yeah, hell is a punishment. So with the 2 bars of internet, Baxter managed to get Charlie's slideshow up, and Charlie makes a great speech among all the overlords about how Serpentius was her most successful prodigy, and he managed to make it into heaven. In the meantime, we see Vaggie. Oh, hi, Vaggie. How you been, girl? I haven't seen you in a few years. Well, she cuts the power to the big orbital death beam cannon, but there's no cables in it. So she does some investigating and sees my Lucy boy all chained up and all that other bad nonsense.
Well, before we proceed, you all remember that little bit of homework I gave you last episode?
Remember this?
Remember this scene where Vox is actively scratching the surface of this glass container with his claws? Remember that? Well, Vaggie here has a angelic spear that she could use at any point in time. Why isn't she using that to break Lucifer out?
Well, Lucifer is held there by more than just the glass box. I'm sure she's got to at least break those too.
Yes, but wouldn't a good first step would be break the glass box? I mean, I'm not even certain if Vaggie even used her spear at all this season. This would be the prime opportunity to do it. Why isn't she doing it?
Well, maybe she's trying to take a more subtle approach.
She literally just sliced what she thought was the power core in half. No, she is not being subtle whatsoever.
Quick, make a joke that segues out of this clear plot hole!
Alright, princess. This is my Always wanted to do that.
Oh my god! So many new jokes just opened up at Vox's expense. You know, this also puts that one scene with the maracas into a whole new context, when you consider he just changed the channel to incorporate Mexican soap operas. So with Vox's only real weapon on mute, Charlie finally enacts her actual plan to show proof that Serpentius went to heaven and that she was right all along. Emily engages the signal, which they were both about to activate, until they don't. Because the V's are more than just Vox.
This causes a fight break out between Velvet versus Nifty. But of course, with Baxter taken out, no PowerPoint, no proof. And this makes Charlie look even worse, but does give Vox enough time to correct his audio settings. Well, then we cut to Angel Baby, who is not doing so hot. Too many drugs, too much alcohol, you know, too much my son's wine. So they tried to take him, but he doesn't want to go, so they threw him in a burlap sack. But just before they're able to escape, here comes Valentino Baby.
and he doesn't like people touching his property, specifically. So he sends that little demon robot minion. Don't care too much for that.
But then we cut back to Charlie as the crowd is turning against her. But then Emily shows up to try to throw her 2 cents.
I'm not entirely certain if showing up is the right move, but it totally fits Emily's character. And the two of them do try to convince as many as possible, but unfortunately for them, they're all under Vox's control. And Vox regained his silver tongue.
Alright everybody, you know what time it is. All together now, roll initiative!
So we're finally at the combat conflicts of this entire arc, and I do have to admit, it is fun watching everybody attack in their own unique and diverse ways. Also, I think we need to power scale Nifty up a little bit, because this is now 2 overlords she's fought, and she's holding her own, this time 1v1. I'm interested to know where the hell did Alistair get this little girl?
Of course, things aren't really going as hot with the Husk and Cherry Bomb fight, as they have actively a angel dust to protect, while being harassed by a robot and a moth with guns.
Why is he using his flashy power?
I'm not sure if he even really has any power because he has to rely on robots and guns.
But in fairness, that's still more than Vox. But Vox has the advantage as he's facing 2 pacifists at once. But then he makes his declaration, demanding Charlie acknowledge him as the strongest sinner in hell. She refuses, of course, because Vox isn't threatening enough to break her spirits. But then Alistair comes in and asks her to do it, to tell Vox he's the strongest sinner, which, as you can see, takes both of them aback. The favor? He's pulling that card to get Charlie to say this? I'm sorry, I'm confused. What's going on? In Season 1, Charlie made a deal with Alistair in order to defeat the Angels. But one of the conditions of the deal is that it was just a simple favor, nothing more, and no one gets hurt. This definitely technically fits that criteria. I just didn't think that Alistair would use that as leverage to get Charlie to admit it. But I'm confused here. How does Charlie, baby, admitting that Vox is the strongest sinner of hell make it true?
I'm not entirely certain, but they're convinced, as Charlie admits that Vox is the strongest sinner in hell, on live cameras, causing all of hell to have a sudden double take as Vox pulls in those rating numbers and actively becomes the strongest sinner in hell, breaking the contract of Alistair and Rosie, and Vox has the biggest climax of his afterlife.
Wait, why does Charlie saying it all of a sudden make it true? I mean, it's not as though all the people actually trust Charlie. If anything, Vox has guaranteed that nobody should trust Charlie. So why does her saying that Vox is the strongest sinner automatically make him one?
And I was always led on to believe, I'm not sure if this is true, mind you, but I was always led to believe that overlords gain their power through how many sinners that they have contracts with and own the souls of. I thought that's how it worked. But Charlie doesn't own any souls. She's just the princess of hell. How does her saying that Vox is the strongest? I hate asking this question because I feel like it makes too much of an unnecessary comment section war, but what's the power scaling system?
Well, why don't we just ask? Oi, Yahweh! What's the deal with the power scaling system in the Helliverse?
Oh, you silly Billy, it's so obvious. It's a tale as old as time. I just made it a belief system.
A belief system? You just have to believe that you're the strongest in order to... Then why did she need to address all of hell? Well, the more people who believe, the more true it becomes. That's all it is. Why do you think I have the entire planet of Earth worshipping me? Well, Vox, being a condescending piece of shit, only gloats about how much he's won in Charlie's face. But he makes the mistake that will define his career and grabbed Charlie's shoulders, which, once more, breaks the deal, binding Alistair down and allowing him to escape the cuck chair, which takes everybody off guard. And this is when Alistair gloats in his face how you didn't win shit, I orchestrated your victory. And now I've won.
This doesn't count. I didn't hurt her.
I didn't say not to hurt her, you moron. I said you're not to lay your hands on her. And you did. It worked, didn't it? Baby, I'm a demon in hell. It's kind of our thing.
So, as a gentleman collective, I think we can all agree that any victory that Charlie sees this season, well, no matter how small it might be, is directly because of Alistair's influence. You know it all.
So Alistair rejoins the fight, and he wants revenge on being put in the cuck chair for so long. And he wastes no time summoning lesser demons to attack Vox.
And for those of you wondering, but wait, I thought that Alistair only got his power through Rosie. You'd be correct. But he's still an overlord, which means he still has a bunch of souls and a bunch of people believing he's the strongest. So, he still has some bite to him. And he fights on Vox's power level as, well, kind of equals. I would say they would be equals, but let's be honest. Alistair's been at this game way too long, and Vox is too riled up. This is an easy Alistair dub.
Which is more than what could be said for the Valentino fight, as even with it being 2-on-1, a girl using explosion and Husk's magic tricks, it seems they're no match for a guy with a gun. But with a pretty cool callback to Season 1, they managed to blind Valentino and bind his hands, and beat the living shit out of him for what they did to Angel Dust. Speaking of which, Angel Dust, still under his control. Yeah, I don't know how the control system works, but he's able to direct Angel Dust's actions enough to strangle Cherry Bomb. But with a quick, swift punch to the head, Angel Dust regains sanity just enough to realize what he had done. But when Valentino strikes back, Husk, well,
let's just say that Valentino is going to be holding a new record for edging.
Then we cut back to Alistair, who is honestly making Vox look like such a fraud. And Vox summons his little demon shark robot shockwave thingy to his position and has him attack Alistair, which Alistair, well, he was already on fraud watch, so I don't think it's that much of a difference that he's being attacked by a giant mechanical shark. And then Vox decides to use his holy cannon to fire at the hellscape, killing a bunch of evil citizens of hell in the crossfire. Charlie and Emily decide to go off and help the residents of hell and stop Vox from, being a little bit of a crazy bitch.
We cut back to Baxter, Nifty, and Velvet as they're continuing their fight, which, again, Nifty is quite frankly kicking her ass. She is Overlord level, and Nifty is whatever the heck she is. She's got to be some kind of Overlord. I think we can all agree on that.
Oh, definitely.
I don't know. I still need to see proof.
Well, with a little help from Baxter blocking all of her ads, Nifty is able to get the final blow and knock Velvet out the window. Baxter is then able to get the signal needed to get into heaven and broadcast the signal, but unfortunately gets the tower blown up by Vox, so now no laptop, no signal, and the only hope they have is if somehow, someway, Serpentius invents a device that can be powerful enough to beam a signal directly into hell, which he gets working on post-haste.
Velvet and Valentino are able to put themselves back together, just for them to roll an insight on their life and death choices.
This is like losing
You know, with all of the silly things that turn Valentino on, one must wonder if he actually loves Vox or if it's just lust.
Somebody roll in the comments an insight check.
So we cut back to our girl, Vaggie, who is still trying to destroy the machine, but then is joined quickly by Carmilla Carmine, who decides to help out with those really nice legs. But Vox sees them trying to destroy his weapon and also sees his approval ratings tank, which I assume is losing power, I suppose. And so he decides to ramp up the destruction and hurt our boy Lucy even more, and fire the weapon consistently even more so than before, not caring about the widespread devastation he's causing.
But Emily gets caught in the crossfire and is caught by 4K by Sarah, who immediately decides to send Heaven's Army. But Serpentius tells her to wait and that he can still do this. She trusts him, but still sends the two worst people down in order to try to collect Emily. Like, what do you think's going to do? Lute is not capable of following the mission.
Well, we finally reach the point of the story where all hope is truly lost. For Vox. And he goes on the desperate path. Carmilla says stop firing the damn gun because it's about to blow, but Vox doesn't care. As long as he can wipe that smug grin off of Alistair's face, he doesn't care what happens to heaven, hell, or anyone else. And then he's attacked by the V's, who tell him it's over as they rip off his head and try to make it escape, but are unsuccessful to say the least. So, with that out of the way, they try to disarm the weapon and try to evacuate, but there's no time to disarm, and the blast radius would encompass the entire city. This is it. This is doomsday. They are all going to vanish. But then, we get the most selfless act we've seen in the series, as it looks to the audience that Emily is going to self-sacrifice herself to do something.
Actually, Dad, I have a question. What happens if a Seraphim dies?
Oh, don't be silly. Seraphim can't die. I didn't make it so. There's nothing I created in existence that could kill one of my little babies.
Okay, but theoretically, what happens if something was created that could kill them?
I beg your pardon? Well, I don't know about self-sacrifice. However, Emily starts to throw down water beams and is starting the first song of this episode, this late into the game, which I assume is going to be the final song of the series. And just like that, Charlie also joins her in throwing her laser beams at the weapon, singing and harmonizing to the song Hear My Hope. And then Husk joins. And then Nifty joins. And soon they start gathering a chorus where they're all singing about, well, generic Hopefield stuff. Yeah, it's a good song. It's just, yeah.
It's a vague describe what's happening around them song. Speaking of which, hello, Lute. Yes, the corny inspirational song turns into a rock song real quick when Lute and Abel show up, as Lute wants all of the smoke, and Vaggie is willing to deliver it, and we finally get a fight scene between them. And what does the show focus on? Abel. Not that I'm entirely complaining, cause we finally get a song out of this guy, even if it's part of this hopeful song. But god damn it, I consider it a sin that they waited this long for Fall Out Boy to actually start singing.
The song itself is mostly just Abel singing about how he's having a panic attack because he was thrusted into a position he clearly was not ready for, and he doesn't have the balls in order to do what needs to be done and stop the fighting. But then, he finally mans up, grows a pair, and lets her stop her right there!
Yeah, it kind of sucks that Abel's entire character arc can be summed up in a single part vocal performance,
But that seems to how Hazbin Hotel operates. Also, we get this cool visual of Abel channeling his dad.
The power of misogyny compels you, Loot. Maybe she's actually into that.
Personally, I'm kind of a lot more disappointed, as this means that Lute and Abel's entire arc can be summed up as "Hi, Lute! Bye, Lute!" in like one short vocal performance. I loved it, I'm glad it happened, but goddamn, Lute was wasted this season.
So we're back to square one, and all of the main cast is using their combined magical hell powers to create a spiritual defense orb, but they don't have enough power. But then the other overlords decide to join in and use their magical hell abilities in order to create that spirit globe that protects all of heaven. Well, almost all the overlords.
Yeah, Alistar's being a little bit of a bumhole.
Rosie shows up and tells him, "Help out, you prick." But Alistar makes it very clear he has no problems watching everyone die, including all the people that Rosie likes, the main cast, if she doesn't help him and give him something worthwhile. Offering his staff up with the implications of, fix it and I'll help. If not, I will watch hell burn with their corpses.
This does give Rosie a grin, but it's unclear whether that's a "I'm proud of you" grin, or "you really are the guy I know you to be" grin, or "I still have one thing up my sleeve, but I'll help you in this case" grin. Doesn't matter, either way, she fixes his staff, and now Alistar is back at full power. Actually, even more so.
Alistar and Rosie joining in does give the bubble enough of a push to finally be completed. The V's just show up right at the very end to say, yeah, we'll help out a little bit. But I don't think they would have made much of a difference regardless. And so, against Vox, all of the overlords, a seraphim, and the Princess of Hell are able to create the bubble, which seals up the explosion, causing a rainbow effect and saving all of Hell! Wow, that feels weird to say.
I don't know why, but something about that rainbow effect at the very end just kind of rubs me in a weird way.
I know, right? Like, I feel like I've seen something like that before.
I know, there was just a lot of elements in there.
Yeah, a lot of elements that felt harmonically familiar in a way.
Yeah, there's very, very harmonically familiar elements. I just don't know where I'm putting my finger on it.
Yeah, me neither. It's probably just a waving feeling. I'm sure it'll pass. So now, with the hell no longer under immediate threats, the overlords just decide to say, we're just gonna fuck off now, as everybody celebrates, and the gang's back together, and all's well, and there's puppies, and sunshiny rainbows, and normally that wouldn't exist in hell, but Sir Pentious manages to get the signal to show everybody, I lived, bitch! Well, kind of. He's in heaven now, and he's a good boy, and that they need to prevent war on heaven at all costs for their very soul, only to be told, yeah, we don't really need that speech anymore, but hey, thanks for showing up. Thanks for showing the proof that Charlie desperately needed for all season. And, well, yeah.
Also, he does the Rizzler act to try to swoo Cherry Bomb. But hey, she's receptive, so the dorky Riz is working, so all's well and good. Well, until we get to the V's, as they go back to their tower to lick their wounds, and and have a little bit of banter. But this is far from a perfect ending, as Angel Dust willingly goes back to his abusers, back to Valentino and the V's. Husk and Cherry Bomb, of course, try to stop him, trying to get him to make sense, but he drops one of the coldest lines in the entire series before convincing them to just stop trying to rescue him and forget he ever met each other.
They are doing a really good job at setting up Season 3. If they're
even going to address it.
There's only like 5 seasons left, at most.
Personally, I think the only way they're gonna get Angel Dust's soul back is if Husk rejoins the ranks of the Overlords and then bets it all to get Valentino to bet it all and get the soul.
And so we cut to a little while later. The series wraps up with Charlie giving her mom one last phone call, telling her all about how the hotel is now an overwhelming success as people want to stay there for the right reasons.
Give a holler for the comment section for our boy Rooster, who never left the hotel once this season.
That's my boy!
Oh, right, and Vaggie goes through her whole name-changing arc by just dropping the E in her name. Honestly, I didn't even know there was an E in her name. I thought it ended with a Y. But whatever, as long as that plotline is done with, I hated it.
Alistair is still sulking around the hotel, this time with his confidence actually back. And it looks like he's setting his eyes on a bigger prize than before. Unfortunately, the V's are still a thing. I mean, they suffer almost no consequences for their actions. Of course, they're already in hell, what more do you possibly want? As they were able to spin the story to make it look like Valentino, who's sporting a nice purple coat now, is the actual savior of hell. But I'm not entirely certain how much hell bothers with it.
Cherry Bomb and Serpentius now have a form of communication, as Emily acts as a two-way communication streak, taking letters to one another, and looking at his face. She totally sent him nudes.
Schizophrenic Adam is still a thing for Lute, as she's clearly mad that she was not used to her full potential this season, and Adam is kinda with her because it looks like he still has a way to go before he actually steps up as the leader.
Wouldn't it be crazy if she corrupted him after the experience and turned him into the very thing that she wants him to be, which is Adam?
Oh, that would be a crazy theory for Season 3, but not right now. And with the hotel up and running, not having to worry about the V's anymore, everything on Heaven and Hell's front looking, relatively speaking, okay, it looks like there's no real big, bad, evil setup this time in order to get Charlie anxiety-driven for what's coming up in Season 3.
Mom?
Yes, hello, we are calling you about your car's extended warranty.
It's about to expire.
Pay us now!
But for real, how has that not been made into a meme yet? At any rate, that's Hazbin Hotel Season 2, Episode 8, as well as the season finale. So, overall, I would say satisfying, but we got them notes.
It's amazing how this season had so many problems, so many issues that could have been prevented from ever happening if they had just given Serpentius a cell phone. Hindsight truly is a bitch.
I would say the strongest aspect of this season was the songs because god damn it, there's no way they could not have been. It's like Vivi said, oh, you like my songs? Well, hold my beer. Here, have some more songs. Have all the songs. Every episode gets like 5-10 songs!
I would definitely say that some of my favorite aspects were also the V's and their shenanigans. I mean, I said this from the original episode 1 of season 2. They're kind of Team Rocket style villains, you know. I don't see any of them as Mewtwo, Frieza, Bakura, and, you know, Aizen and Blackbeard levels of threats. You know, I don't really see any of them being that level. They're all just kind of Team Rocket. And even after 8 episodes of seeing their shenanigans at work, my opinion of them really has not changed. It's the equivalent of giving Team Rocket a Gyarados, Aggron, and Rayquaza. You know, those special episodes where they actually get some really good Pokemon, but they still fumble the bag.
But don't think for a second that we forgot about Little Miss Problems, bordering on levels of cringe like we haven't seen since Legend of Korra Season 2 as well.
Charlie.
Now, a character that makes mistakes is not the problem here. I enjoy a character who's not perfect and makes the right decision and the right call the first time, each and every single time with the information they have. But there's a limit. It's called character growth. Character growth is what I enjoy even more, because it allows them to make the right decision later. And Charlie just kept dropping the ball each and every single time, even after she was called out on hurting her own cause. She is the reason why Vox got as far as he did.
Though she wasn't the only reason, she was the main reason. You know, I feel like the Angels didn't really do as much as they could have in order to try to smooth things over. I feel like the residents of the hotels, specifically the ones who knew Serpentius the most, I think could have at least stood up for him and say, yeah, he's in heaven. Even if we don't have proof, we do have a lot of people. And you know what? That's a problem that I saw in Season 1, too. There isn't as much of the rest of the cast actually contributing to the main story's plot. Like, it all really does fall on Charlie and Vaggie. And while I do love them both, even if they were disappointing this season, I really want more of the rest of the cast trying to make this hotel at least partially work. The only ones that don't really have that excuse are Alistair, who was forced to be at the hotel for 2 seasons, and maybe Husk. Because the only one that Husk seems to be really connecting with at the hotel was Angel Dust, and now he's not at the hotel. So I can expect a lot of more Husk trying to get Angel Dust back next season. If not, then someone definitely dropped the ball in the writer's room.
And personally, I found everything to happen in heaven fabulous. All perfect by my design, of course. Of course.
Honestly, I think Lute could have had a bit more of a satisfying payoff. You know, because gravity and all the setup and all the build-up, just for her to have, like, a fucking second of a battle, and then, you know, it was completely overshadowed by Fallout Boy.
You know, I did smite people for less.
Well, there's a lot more that could be said. I could be nitpicking, I could be tearing it through, but honestly, this is just a review show. So overall, I would say this season does get a pass, but we do have notes to make it better for Season 3 whenever it comes out. So, until then, we're the Cartoon Gentlemen. I'm Gent.
I'm Rehash.
The Cypher! And I'm God! And we will see you all next time.